In this video, I'm going to go through how to uh, properly create a drawing from your part file. Um, we're going to be submitting assignment 4 through 6. Assignment 2, parts 4 through 6 are going to be submitted as drawings on lecture on Tuesday, September 9th. I actually covered how to create the drawing. Uh, I was doing it my way, my method, but that's per ANSI standards. It's per the lecture. So um, yeah, so I'll just cut right to it. I'm going to use the lecture to file um, just because I did that in class, and it's a pretty simple part. And then I'm going to just create another more complex part that has a few different more features um, in a different video, and then do a drawing again from there. So this is just going to focus on the nuances of um, how to do the views properly for a drawing. Okay, so you notice I opened up the part. That's just personal preference. That's not necessary. I just like to do that because then I'm like, okay, this is the part I'm going to create a drawing from. Um, I guess there is some value to that because then you're like, all right, that part, uh, as you'll see in the next step here, that part is what I'm going to actually use to create my drawing from. The other thing to note is that the drawing and the part files are related always. And by related, I mean if you make a change in the part file, it will be updated whenever you update or whenever you open your drawing file. So that's why when we say save the PDF, because the is to save that PDF of the drawing file, because any changes that you would make with the part file would change the drawing file. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the one thing I talked about in class, and it kind of seems trivial, but it is important to me. These are ANSI standards, all right, American National Standards and Standards Institute. Um, just the biggest point here is I want to make that these A, B, C, and even D sizes, if you click them, you'll see that like C is a certain paper size, okay? So these things are when you create more complex geometry, when you get out into industry, um, it's not just like A, B, C, or like one, two, three. These are actually ANSI like standard sizes and formats, okay? So for almost all, can't think of a single reason why in this class you will not use the ANSI landscape, and you will display the sheet format. What is the sheet format? It is the title block with all its information that's sort of mousing over and circling here. If you don't click that, you will lose points. You don't have to do a lot with that. You can just use the default. In industry internships, you will have different title blocks, and they'll be customized with company, etc. Um, it's not really super necessary for this class. You'll learn that in like ME 4150 and ME 2700. Okay, so just make sure that when you open that, you have into landscape and hit OK. So this is what I was talking about before. Is actually has my part file right here. Now there's a bunch of different ways I can. Typically, I double click it. You can also, if like you lose that view or whatever, um, you can go back to model view. So that's basic drawing tools, model view. Come back and open this window. Um, the the tutorials I think taught you a slightly different method. So follow this video lecture to do it the way I would recommend. If you double click it, I noted in class, I asked a question. If we double click, we have this little box that pops up, but we don't really have any good indication of, okay, what view is that? And that's because SOLIDWORKS is assuming that you've been taught, well, now you will have been taught by me, that that is the front view. In the diagram here, and you can go back and look at the lectures, if I mouse over this, hover over it, it says front. It doesn't give you a good indicator that's the front view because, again, it's assuming you've been taught how to do this. So, what just happened? Not what I wanted. So I got the isometric view. So, if you get that with the drawing selected, you can then go back and see how it's depressed now? Depressed. It has that little darker gray. Okay, now I have that view. Okay, now what I showed in class was a little bit smoother. Um, so let me go ahead and delete this view. Yes, I want to delete that. So model view, and double click on that, and then I'm going to click on front and force that. Okay, this is what I was showing in class, and this is actually a really nice example. So if I move up, you notice again, I talked about this a lot in class, but the lines on the edges here are exactly the same length on the top. When you look at that, that's that parallel projection we talked about. If you accidentally go below the front view like this, you're showing the bottom. We don't want that. Remember, third angle projection in the US, that's what we're using here. So select up there, come back down to the front view, slide over, and now we have our right view. Then the thing I do last is come back here, and then if you just be patient until you see an isometric view, okay? If you really can't get it, go back to this or create create a view by going to model view, create another one, and then bring it in here, and then get your another drawing view. Okay, the best way to do that if you can't get that isometric actually would be to go to projected view, and then again that would allow you to come back in here. But let's just go with this for now. So what I covered in class is different than what is in the tutorials. So in the tutorials, I select the view. In the tutorials, it had you do, I think it was shaded or dark shaded, either way. That's not standard. That's not what you will ever show, not what you want to show in internships and your full-time job. You want to show, and you will show when you submit to get full credit, you will show hidden lines removed. This is a pictorial view. Hidden lines, showing hidden lines, I'll show slightly more complex in a separate video. And then there's video lecture 6 that goes into all the different line concepts, so I'm not going to cover much of that here. But this is what I want you to hand in. That's the pictorial view, okay? Doesn't make sense to add color. It's just a standard convention. Okay, so the next thing as I talked in class is that it's really up to you. If I select this right view, remember I talked about I can only slide in and out. That's because the front view controls a lot of this. So use that first, the front view. I like to slide again this kind of up and out of the way because we want to really utilize the front, top, and right to display our dimensions, right? Okay, so once you're done, I like to click in this middle space. That way, no particular view is selected. You see that? And then go to annotations. Now, as I talked about in class, I could see it would make a lot of sense to go in Smart Dimension. And I'm not even going to click that button because I don't want you to. 1, you'll get points off. 2, I'm showing you exactly how to save a lot of time. And it forces you, by clicking on this model items, it forces you to make sure that your part file has fully defined sketches and fully defined features. So, first thing, model items, select that, make sure to click entire model. So we want everything for the entire model. Sometimes I think this is default, so make sure all entire model is selected. Import in all views. That's going to say I want to import all model items, the dimensions, annotations, etc., into and spread them around, if you will. Okay. Then I was doing here for the dimensions, I click as many as possible and eliminate duplicates. These two are redundant. I'm not going to go into that for the purposes of this lecture, but these two, one can be checked, one won't be. We'll go into which one is better later, okay? Then for annotation, select all. Reference geometry, select all, okay? These two options, I'm not really worried about. It's these items up above, entire model, all dimensions, annotation, select all for these bottom two, okay? And then hit OK. Okay, now, believe it or not, I'm just going to grab dimensions, move. They're going to, SOLIDWORKS tries to do a decent job of laying these things out. Now it's up to you to, now that you have dimensions, maybe you want to go back and adjust your spacing. Just make things clean, okay? What I don't want to see is, again, I mentioned in class, but mention it here again, you're using this as a communication tool. So if I have something like this, where this one is on this line here, it's a little bit hard to read. It's not clear how to do it, so move it. Good standard practice is to have the dimension, if possible, in between the two lines it's referencing. This is a little tight, but it still works. What happens with this one is the leader lines are flipped, and I could force them back, but then it's going to look kind of ugly. Okay? So most of the time, SOLIDWORKS does a pretty good job of, with this spacing, with this kind of stuff, choosing the right leader line style. Just know that you can go there and change it if you, for some reason, need to. Okay. Now, what do you see about this? And video lecture 6 talks about, some of these things may be somewhat redundant. But in this case, and like I told you in class, you will never lose points for including all three views. Now, we will work on it and we will talk about what defines very redundant, that we can eliminate the third view, which is typically the right view or the front view. It's never the top view or right view. Those are the ones that if we're going to eliminate one or the other, but we will never eliminate the front. Okay. Now, some of your drawings are going to come in, and if you didn't choose this as the front view, we'll talk about in class how to change that. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but we can manage. Okay. The thing I want to highlight here is, again, spacing, things like that. Notice how these lines are all black. That's what you're looking for if you want to get full credit in my class, okay? Now I'll go just for a second and let's just say I'll use Smart Dimension, even though I told you not to. I just want to highlight the difference. It doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. Like, what's the difference between one that's black and one that's gray? It doesn't seem like it's a big deal here when you're just looking at in the drawing. The thing, again, that I can't stress enough, this is how you prove to me and my grader that you dimension everything in the model, and you don't need to. If you have to add dimensions here, you are missing them in your part file, and you will get points off. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I'm just stressing that because I don't want you to get points off, really. Okay, so enough of I'll get off my soapbox, and I don't know why I can't, there we go, delete key. All right, so there are a whole bunch of people that will go into a whole bunch of stuff like how to align very particular. I'm not super adamant about this, as long as it looks clean. What I would encourage you to do is, when possible, spread out your dimensions to all, even though I said it slowly but surely to spread out the dimensions, if you can make it a little bit cleaner, like, I don't know, let's say, since we know that this distance from this edge to that edge is 1, and that is the same from here to here. If not, come ask me in class why that is. We talked about it. I can hold the shift key and then select that dimension. You see this weird blue box? Okay, so I'm demonstrating that I did something wrong. I'm going to Control Z to get that part back. So if I hold that and then hit the Control key, okay, check, hit the Shift key after I selected, let me just do it again. Select the one, hold the Shift key, and then this little blue box will kind of highlight, and then you can drag it over here and drop it. Now, you could argue it's probably better over there, but I'm simply trying to show you how you can, spread out dimensions. And also kind of remind yourself how all of these things relate. What would probably be a better idea is click, shift, move this back, and just put it on the other side. Okay. This right view, I don't know, maybe if we had more features here, it won't work so well. Height is represented here and here. So we could maybe move one of these dimensions over. There you go. Not really a big deal because this is a simple part. But the main part of this whole little short lecture, beta tutorial, whatever you want to call it, is to show you how to bring the 3 model views and how to bring the model items appropriately. Okay, hit save. It's going to save and prompt you to save the part file. Again, it reminds you that those two things are associated. That's why I asked for the PDF created from that. So save that part file wherever you want to save it. If you already have that, I guess I must have done this before. I didn't. I did that in class, so I was just going to overwrite that file. And then last thing is, I guess hopefully this is pretty obvious, but save as, and then do where is it? PDF. It shouldn't be an option. Actually, I'm not going to show that. There really shouldn't be any options that you need here. Okay. So just standard select save as type and then hit save. Okay. All right. That's the end of this video.